Now, a few people have asked me what I think about this masterpiece of a game, as many people are calling it, Clair Obscur, Expédition 33, le plus grand FRPG du monde. And I guess this is going to be a video with some hot takes, and hot takes are just basically opinions that run counter to the majority opinion. That's basically what hot takes are. And I have to say, I tried playing the game, I did not like the game, and since I realized I was not going to play through the entire game, I went ahead and spoiled myself and watched most of the story online, but they will not be things that please the general public, because again, hot takes, contrary opinions, that sort of thing. So right off the bat, I am not a player of JRPGs. And for that reason, I already had a bias, to be perfectly honest. I don't like the style or format of JRPGs. I've attempted on occasion to sort of try them out. Maybe it's because of my age, maybe it's because I didn't grow up with it. Maybe I'm just too Western. There might be all kinds of reasons as to why I don't like JRPGs. But in terms of the combat, in terms of the format, basically, Clair Obscur Expédition 33 is a JRPG. Although you could call it an FRPG, as I did in the beginning, because it's its own little thing or brand. And apparently it adds certain innovations and creative elements to that. But the combat is not for me. Now you could say, well, you could just play on the lowest difficulty and slog through it. I could do that. But the problem is, and this is the greater problem for me, I just don't really like the story. Now, a lot of people are saying this game is a masterpiece. And I will say this about Clair Obscur Expédition 33. The game is technically, from a technical standpoint, incredibly well made. There's no denying that. That's an objective fact. It was a team of 30 people who worked on this game, and they produced an incredibly competent piece of technical mastery. The game looks really good, it plays really well, the characters look good, the art is great, the assets are great, there's a lot of variation, enemies, environments, this sort of thing. And on top of that, you have a singular composer, just one composer, who composed over 8 hours of tracks by himself. A man by the name of Laurent Testard. Now, these are all incredible achievements, and so I'm not denying the objective fact of the technical mastery of the game, from the music to the gameplay, if you're into the gameplay that is, to the art style, to the direction of the art, to the assets, to just the very, very smooth performance of the game. Nothing about what I'm going to say has anything to do with that, because I readily acknowledge the technical mastery of this game. That said, to me, Clair Obscur Expédition 33 is just a super depressing, cynical, and negative game. And this is just my hot take, but I don't play games to cry, to weep, to become even more depressed than I might already be, to partake of the sorrow of life, of which life offers you plenty in abundance without games. And so, although I understand what they're trying to do in the game, and I'm not really going into details here, the general theme and the ideas propagated in the game don't appeal to me whatsoever as a work of fiction. Again, for myself, and possibly other people, the point of playing a game is A, to have fun, and to escape. I do not want to be reminded of the travails, the loss, the sorrow of life in a game. I want the opposite. I want heroism. I want the acquisition of power. I want immortality. I want divinity. I want achievement. I want to go beyond that which the mortal coil does not allow you to do in real life. And to be perfectly honest, what this game does, Clair Obscur Expédition 33, is it is a technical masterpiece with a story that is about copium and delusion and the kinds of things that people do in order to deal with the horror of life. And I'm not saying that that type of game should not exist. There are all types of games out there. It's just not a type of game that appeals to me. Again, if I really want to cry and weep bitter tears and be sad and miserable about life, I need only live life. I don't need to play a game like this. And so, even if I enjoyed the combat, which I did not, and even if I could appreciate the technical mastery of the game, and the music is absolutely fantastic. There are many varied tracks, all done by this singular individual, Lorient Testard. Even granting all of that, I simply do not enjoy the themes of the game. They are not the type of fiction I want to partake in. And a lot of people might say, well, you're taking the game too seriously. That's the point of the game, to take the story seriously. And in taking it seriously, I have to say, I don't like it. Now, I'm going to be very, very vague here because I don't want to spoil anything. But another big drawback of the game to me is that you have no agency. The things you do have very, very little influence on the outcome of the game. And again, not every game needs to be chock-a-block filled with agency and actions that lead somewhere and different outcomes and this sort of thing. You know, at the extreme end, that would be sort of a Larian game, right? But a game in which your actions mean nothing and lead to nothing is also not a game for me. I simply don't enjoy it. So again, to recap, I appreciate the technical mastery of this game. I can definitely say, in a technical sense, this is probably going to be a game of the year. But in terms of the combat, being JRPG style, and what have you, it's not for me. And more importantly, the depressing, cynical, pessimistic story is not for me either. Not in a work of fiction, not in a game. Again, to repeat it one last time, if I want that stuff, I can just play real life, and I'm doing plenty fine in that department right now. And a final small point about this game is, I have this very weird relationship with the French language. I do speak French, depending on the day, but I don't really like the French language. I've tried to like it. I've tried so hard, and yet I do not like the French language. And this game has reminded me of the fact that I really want to like the French language. I truly, in my heart of hearts, want to like the French language, but no matter how hard I try, how much I want to, I just don't like French, despite me speaking the language to varying degrees. Because let's be honest, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the most French game in existence. And a final point. I may indeed make a separate video, a different video about this game. But I will talk about the culture, the history, and the influences that went into the game. And so it'll be a different type of video than the vast majority of videos made about this game. And maybe I won't make that video, we'll see. But if I do talk more extensively about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, it will be in that sense in terms of what went into it in terms of historical influence, philosophical, religious, cultural, etc., etc. Anyway, that's my take on the game. I'm simply not going to force myself to play a game that I don't like, even if my opinion runs contrary to the masses. No, this is not a masterpiece for me, other than the acknowledgement of its technical mastery, which I grant. But for everyone else, if you love this game, that's great. You do you. This game is definitely not for me. But as always, thank you for tuning in. If you like my videos and you like my takes, you can leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's much appreciated, as it really helps out the channel. Je vous remercie, et à la prochaine.